And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game that is imaginatively called North American Railways. So there are a lot of railway games, a lot of train games out there, 18XX games, crayon rail games. You might be watching this going, I don't know what you're talking about, but they're very in-depth games. Most railroad games that I've run across seem to involve owning shares of those railways. This one is no exception. This one is kind of like the Big Brother games, the 18XX games, except this one is actually a quite small card game. Very small, just a few decks of cards, although we're going to spread them all over the table like this. To start the game, you're going to take some shares and shuffle them and put them face up in a grid like this, and also different cities on the board. These cities that are on the board has the name of the city and or state. So yeah, there's some of them are states, some of them are cities, and then has two different numbers on here, a red number, a green number, and then on the side it just shows some symbols, and then in the middle here it's going to show those from coast to coast. This one here you see has 3, some have 1 or 2, and some have 0. Players are going to get a certain amount of starting money depending on how many players are in the game. One player is chosen to go first and selects one of the shares at the bottom of one of these columns. They have 3 options of what to do with that share. So if they take a share that nobody controls that company yet, so let's say you take purple share, they're going to take control of that company, take the share. They're going to take one of the purple trains to show that they control that company, and then they're going to put any amount of money they want, so maybe here I'll put $700, into that company. So that company, the purple company, now has $700. If later on in the game there's another purple share available and I already own the purple company, I can simply buy that share outright, but I have to pay $1,000 for it. $500 of that $1,000 will go into the purple company. The other $500 goes to the bank. If I buy a share where someone else is the president of that company, let's say someone else owns the green company, I say, all right, I want to buy this green share. I'll say any price at all to the person who's the director of that company. So I might say, I don't know, $500. The director might say, all right, you can keep that. So then I take the share. Half of that price is going to go to the company, so to the green company, and the other half goes to the bank. If by me buying that, I have more shares than the director themselves, or at least as many shares, even if I tie, I'll take control of the company and put the token in front of me. Or the director can buy the share instead of me. So I said 500. They can take the share. They pay half the price to the bank, and the other half goes to the green company. So no matter what you do on your turn, you're going to try to buy a share. Unless you can't. If you can't, for some reason you're totally out of money, you're simply going to take $200 from the bank, put it in front of you, and you don't pick a share on your turn. Then you can try to, after you buy a share, you can try, after everyone has done that, all players are going to do that, going around the table. Then players are going to buy cities. Again, you're starting from the bottom here of these columns. When you buy a city, the red number is how much that company who's buying it, so let's say purple wants to buy it, I'm going to take $500 out of the purple company's bank account, and they're going to buy San Diego. And I'm going to put that up here, and it's going to be part of the Purple Train Network. So the I can't add my own money. Even if I have some money of my own, I'm like, oh, I'll help pay. You can't. The purple company is going to do that. So each player can only buy one city for the same company. So if I have a couple companies that I have shares for in front of me, so let's say I have a purple and a yellow share in front of me, I can buy a city for the purple company, I can buy one for the yellow company. You're not going to really be able to do that much anyway, because the companies are going to run out of money as time goes by. After everyone is done doing this, then each company is going to pay out. So let's say the blue company has these 3 cities in front of it. The blue company has $500. That's what the green number is for. It's going to be paying that much, split evenly between all the people who own shares of that company. And so players will get some money for that. This will keep going as shares will be bought until there's fewer shares in the number of players, and at that point the game end will do, or there's fewer cities. That will probably not happen as often, or if nobody buys a city. When that happens, the game is going to end. You get income from the companies again, but then there's a final payment, and that comes down with these coast-to-coast symbols. At that point, you'll look at how many coast-to-coast symbols that a company has. So here it is. Let's say this company, the green company, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then that means everyone who has a green share will get paid $500. If I have 2, for example, I'll take $1,000 at the end of the game. After all that's paid out, whichever player has the most money is the winner. Even though the game takes place across a big chunk of the table, it's really pretty small. When I take all the money and the cards and the trains, and you see this, it could have fit in a much smaller box than it does. I mean, it's a box size, it's fine, but whew. The game has paper money. Not a fan of paper money at all, and this money is not very high quality. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it's not paper, at least, or it's laminated paper, I suppose. That's fine. You're not going to be throwing that much paper money around anyway. But you are throwing it around by the trains. And I should mention here, by the way, I like that each train has a color but also has a symbol. So when you're playing the game, if any colorblind issues, the shares themselves, so this is a red share and a green share, they look identical but they have different symbols on them. So easy to tell apart. So that's nice. The cards themselves are good quality, and it's amazing, as I said, there's this much small space, but it takes up half the table. For what the game is, the components are fine. My only thing would be that the box was a little bit smaller than it needs, bigger than it needs to be. Okay, so like I said, this North American Railways is really like those big, giant 18XX games, like 1856 and 1830, whatever. It's like those, but it gets rid of, well, the board, the actual train part. This could have been any sort of companies, electric companies, power companies, because you don't have the physicality of the board and connecting tracks and things. That's all abstracted out. It's just shares and cities, but who cares what the cities are? It could be New Orleans and Philadelphia and California. You know, you have that connection, and it doesn't make sense from a geographical standpoint, but that's all abstracted out. It's just shares and cities. And so if you've never played one of those games, there's this concept of, I have my money, I have shares in a company, and the company has its money, and if I control the company, I can spend the company's money so that the company can do stuff that will in turn then give me money. And so players who play those train games, those bigger train games, that's something that's going to come naturally to them. And I think if you like those bigger games, I don't know if you will like this, because it takes out a lot of the other stuff. It kind of just compacts it down to just the money and share part. But for people who have never played one of those games, that can be a strange concept, and it takes some getting used to, and it can be difficult to say, okay, I'm putting this much money into the company, what am I getting out of it? I'm not really quite sure. And so that could be chancy and dicey, and I think that North American Railways, especially if you've not played those other ones, it's going to take a few games to kind of figure out what that balance is. How much is a share worth? I don't know. The game clearly indicates that I should buy shares of multiple companies, because buying a share of the same company is $1,000. If I just kept that $1,000 at the end of the game, that's going to help me possibly win. At the same time, when I buy a share that of a company someone else owns, how much do I ask for it? How much, when someone else says, I'll give you $400 for the share, do I let them have it? Or do I basically take that money and do something? It's kind of a weird back and forth. For me, it's just not that interesting. I like games with stocks and shares and stuff, but this one, the whole columns, and you're stuck buying something at the bottom of the column, feels a bit constrictive. Like, I don't really get the point of that, like, hey, today these are the shares available. But if you buy a yellow share, then Bob's going to be able to buy a red one. Theming-wise, that doesn't really jive with me. And the cities also, like, you can't get to Philadelphia until someone has built the New Orleans, the New Jersey, and the California. That, again, they abstracted it so much down that even though I don't necessarily always want to play those bigger games, I don't think the shorter one is that much more fun for me. Again, I think some people might like it. You might love 18xx games, don't want to put the 4 to 6 hours that it takes to go into one of them, and you want to play something that's 30 minutes to 45 minutes, then this is your jam. But I just didn't find the whole game interesting. I kind of grok it. I won't say I'm even remotely good at this kind of game about buying the shares and putting stuff in. I get how this game works and the different money layout, but at the end of the day, when it's done, I was like, that was interesting, but I didn't really have any fun doing it. It felt almost a little workish to me, and trying to sit there and calculate out the end processes. So, it's just not for me. So others may enjoy it, but I'm not one of those folks. That's North American Railways. Dice Tower Judgment, it was a little boring for me.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.